It's not the most glamorous job, but you get lots of plants for free. There we go. And now I have 2 ladies' mantles. So my friends at Vigo sent me one of their hori-horis to try today to divide these perennials. And I'm also going to send one of my viewers one. Wow, the transition from summer to fall hit us quick. Today is the first day of fall. The leaves are dropping and the temperature is cooling, and it is the perfect time to divide some perennials, which is what we're going to do today. Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to my garden. So today I'm going to work on dividing this perennial here. This is the Helen von Steen Lambsare, and you can see that it has gotten quite large. And only a year ago, in a video titled The Fall Switcheroo, I had divided and moved this plant around, and it has already grown 4 times its size. So I'm a little overwhelmed by this Lambsare at the moment, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, but I do know that I have to dig it up and divide it because I'm going to give some to my sister-in-law. Now, you might not be sure why you want to divide perennials, so I'll give you a couple of reasons. When you hear the term divide perennial, a perennial is a plant that comes back year after year. And after a couple of seasons, usually around 3 years or so, it might start overcrowding other plants like you see here, and the reason why I'm digging up this Helen von Steen Lambsare. But a couple of other reasons that you might need to divide your perennials is to rejuvenate them. After a few seasons, you might find that some of your plants are blooming less and just not as robust. So if you go ahead and divide it, it will revitalize that plant and you will begin getting more blooms. Another reason is to grow your garden on a budget. By dividing the plants that you already have, you can go ahead and move them around in the garden without the need for having to buy new plants. The tools that I use to divide perennials are pretty basic. You'll need some kind of shovel. I also like to use a tarp so that once I dig up my plant, I can put the plant on the tarp and get down on the ground and divide it. It also helps keep things a little bit neater. And I like to use a hori-hori. Now, this is a tool I've been using for several years now, and I really love it. This is probably the 2nd or 3rd season of using these, and they're fabulous. So my friends at Vigo sent me one of their hori-horis to try today to divide these perennials, and I'm also going to send one of my viewers one. So to have a chance at getting a hori-hori, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave me a comment below. And in about a week, I will pick someone for Vigo to send a hori-hori. The best times to divide your perennials are going to be in the spring or in the fall when the temperatures are naturally cooler, which will reduce the stress on your plant. When you're ready to divide your perennial, you have 2 options. You can take your shovel and drive it down the center of your plant and just dig out the portion that you want to transplant and then backfill the hole with your soil. Or you can dig up the entire root ball and then divide the plant that way. And this is how you get a bunch of plants for free. I dug up 2 of those clumps of the Helen von Steen Lambsare that were at the end of this bed here. And you can see by the looks of things that I can get a ton of plants out of what's here. So I'm going to give some to my sister-in-law, and I'm going to offer the rest of them to my garden club because I still have more clumps in the garden that I can divide if I want to use them somewhere else. And another tip that I want to share with you is when you divide plants or when you dig plants up for dividing, the best time to do it is after it's rained. We just had 2 days of rain, which made the soil moist, which helps with digging up your plant as well as with any division or transplant shock. So if you've been dry and you haven't had rain, what you can do is the day before you plan on digging up and dividing your perennials is to go ahead and give them a really good watering so that it has time for the water to soak into the plant. And then the next day when you go to dig them up, you won't have a muddy mess on your hands, but you'll have a nice moist root ball to work with. So we're going to go ahead and divide this clump of Lambsare here, and I'm going to use my hori-hori. So let me show you how that's done. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hori-hori that Vigo sent us. Now, I have several hori-horis, and if you're not familiar with them, they're a garden knife. So they're like a gardening multi-purpose tool. And this one comes in a sheath, which is great for storage when you're not using it. It's nice and lightweight and has a stainless steel blade, which goes all the way through. And that's a great feature because I have several hori-horis, and the ones that the blade doesn't go all the way through can get a little wiggly here at the junction point. So I really like this construction. It has a serrated edge and a flat edge, and this serrated edge is great when you're digging holes or you're moving perennials to saw through any roots that might get stuck. It also has a ruler, which is really helpful now this time of year in the fall when you're planting some bulbs. You can see how deep you're going with your bulbs. And some additional clever features that they integrated into the blade. See these hexagon cutouts? These are actually for nuts and bolts, so this works as a wrench. And here we have a nail puller, which I thought was really cool. They also have a bottle opener, and the sheath comes with a loop that you can put on your belt. So let's go ahead and put this hori-hori to the test. We're going to use this serrated edge to divide these Lambsare. When you go to divide your perennial, you just want to find a clear spot where you can make your cut. So here I am just playing with the foliage, kind of splitting it apart, and I can see that I can make a cut right here, and I'll get 2 plants in this section. So I'm going to take my hori hori, and I'm just going to slice it. It's like using a knife. And that cut really well. So here is 1 plant. It's not the most glamorous job, but you get lots of plants for free just by dividing them, other than a little bit of your labor. You can see this shoot here is a stem that has roots all along it. And you can actually see that right here, it's already starting to push out more plants right there. This is going to be a stem with foliage. So even a piece just like this will give you a whole new plant. So you can see how these clumps will literally give you hundreds of plants. Just by having stems like this, you get a whole new plant. Here is the flat of lamb's ear divisions that I have separated from my sister-in-law. And you can see that I have them here in one of these nursery trays. And I have a stack in my shed of both the nursery trays as well as these pots that plants come in. And they come really in handy for things like this, for dividing plants and for giving away plants. So here I have 6 pots of this Helen von Steen lamb's ear that I've divided. And in each one of these pots, I actually have stems that look like this. So I have about 6 to 8 in each pot. So there's anywhere from 36 to 48 plants in this flat here. So when she goes ahead and plants these, she's going to plant them on their side like this, and it will start sending up stems all the way along this root. So these are really robust plants, and they're going to do great. Now, when you do go ahead and divide plants until you can get them in the ground, you want to make sure to keep them in a shaded spot and to keep the roots moist. So I'm going to go ahead and provide her with those instructions when she comes by shortly to pick these up. But she's going to put them in a part shade location in kind of a woodland border with just a few trees. And I think that as these grow, they'll make a really great ground cover for her in that application. And the next thing I'm going to divide is a perennial that I bought this season. This is a lady's mantle, and I purchased it at Lowe's on clearance. Now, if you watch my box store videos, you know that I love to go to the box store and do those inventory tours for you. And this one you can see, anytime that they strike the price with a marker, it was marked 50% off. So this lady's mantle has to get in the ground before the end of the season. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it right out of the container. And I do this all the time. In fact, last year I made a video called Buy One, Get One Free, where I showed you that I had purchased some plants and I divided them right out of the nursery can. Many of these plants have been in these containers for a really long time. So when you get them home, they are screaming to get out of these containers and into the ground. And that is the perfect time to take advantage of dividing them and getting more than 1 plant. So in this case, I'll get 2 for the price of 1. So I'm going to go ahead and use my hori hori. The root ball is nice and moist because it just rained the last couple of days. And I'm just going to find a division point in the plant and try to split it down the middle as evenly as I can. This might take you a couple of minutes, but just take your time with it. All right, and I am going to go right here. There we go. And now I have 2 ladies' mantles. And I'm going to plant one right here to continue this drift and one on the other side underneath my Katsura Japanese maple. Once you're ready to plant your divisions, you can make a hole that's large enough to accommodate your plant. I usually like to amend the hole with a little bit of fresh compost as well as the native soil. And then I also sprinkle in a little bit of the Biotone startup fertilizer, which will really help your roots get going and growing. And the last step is just to water in your transplants and keep an eye on things and make sure that they stay well watered while they establish in their new home. Yesterday, we visited Tolan Garden, which is a nursery in Connecticut, which is about 2 hours away from where we are in Massachusetts. And we went to visit Hassan, which we've been to his nursery before. And he has a beautiful collection of Japanese maples, conifers, and bonsai. And we picked up this beautiful group of conifers as well as one Japanese maple to add to our garden. And what we're thinking is that this beautiful blue spruce here with this gorgeous icy blue will make a really great conifer to put in that space where I removed those two lamb's ear. Because the lamb's ear had a bit of a silvery blue coloring as well, I think this will be a great option to go in that spot. So that is what I'm thinking for this conifer. So I think this is going to work out in this space. I'm going to give it a couple more days to really think it through and be sure, but I did purchase it with the intention of it going here. I will plant it out in a future video and I'll be sure to share that with you. So if you are interested in any of the Vigo products or the Hori Hori that I showed today, I do always have my affiliate link for Vigo Garden down in the description of the video, along with any available promo codes that you can usually use in addition to any sale that they might be running. And like I said earlier, Vigo has offered to send one of my viewers a Hori Hori for use in your own garden. So all you have to do is make sure that you're subscribed and you leave a comment below. And in about a week, I will use a random comment generator to pick someone to receive the Hori Hori. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one.